Owning a small business can be a lonely job. On today's episode, Bill and I are joined by our good friend Trish Murphy of Marketing Smarty Pants, and we talk about why it's important to have people in your life as a sounding board, people you can talk to about your business that are there to benefit you. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you. Have you actually had adventures?
Lots of adventures.
In owning a small business, James?
Mm-hmm. Lots of adventures, lots of journeys. And today we've got our good friend Trish Murphy here to join us on this journey of this
Welcome
podcast.
In, Trish.
Welcome, Trish.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Give her a round of applause there.
Yeah, she's actually here as a contributor, not as a special guest this time, since she's always in our world. So thanks for coming and hanging out with us. You're special.
Thank you.
I can confirm that.
This is not a Trish Murphy podcast. This is a awesome podcast that Trish Murphy's involved in.
Yes.
Very good.
So we're not talking about marketing today.
No. Well, unless it
sort of. I bet it drifts that way.
I bet it might drift that way a little bit.
It does, yeah.
So, and it's funny because we didn't have a guest like lined up for today, and I like the episodes where we don't have a guest sometimes too, because we just get to like talk about what's on our mind. And something happened last week that has stuck with me all weekend, and I really wanted to kind of chat about it today. I was excited that we didn't have a special guest to talk about their business today, because we get to talk about something that I think we take for granted. We have it built in here at Hole in the Wall because you and I are partners, and we have a chance to do this with each other all the time. But it's the solo entrepreneur or the person who is the boss, the head of a company that does not have this. And to kind of go back to last week, I had to do a recording with the Chamber of Commerce, and we had a meeting. The three of us were starting, and then you guys had to leave the studio so I could do this recording. And 2 hours later, I was finally done with my recording, and I came down to the other office, and you guys had a brainstorming session that was crazy.
Yeah, Trish grabbed my elbow right after that. And she says, I want to come down and hang out, and let's meet for a while and just do some brainstorming. Yeah,
it was casual. I mean, it wasn't like it was a planned meeting. It wasn't like you guys had an agenda, but you guys just kind of talked. And out of that just conversation, I thought some really amazing things came out of it. So things that we're going to be working for marketing, some things that almost kind of reiterated things we already do. Mm-hmm. And when I got down there, the whiteboard had 4 items on it. Three were amazing things that we already kind of do already, but just said in a different way. And one was one of those, that makes complete sense moments.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily about what you guys came up with, but it's how you came up with it that I want to talk about today. It's the not doing business alone. Don't do it in a vacuum. We talk about this quite a bit here in the podcast. Not trying to just be a solo person running your business without having any input from somebody else. Bill and I have this because from the very beginning, we've always had lunches, and even if we're really busy, we always make time throughout the week to kind of powwow.
Yeah, we've done that a lot. Yeah. And we've learned how to bounce off each other. I remember at one time I had a list of ideas, and you're like, well, those are good ideas, so go flesh them out, and then, come back and let me know. Because you were busy. I mean, you're in the daily grind. And I remember going, no, this is how I flesh it out, James. I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to you about these ideas, and I need to talk to you now.
Yeah,
because they're fresh, they're relevant. At least one of them is. I don't say they're all good, but that was a real revelation to me, because the way that I process is to say it out loud to somebody else.
Yeah, and I'm a doer, so I'm like, let's just do it.
Well, that's what I noticed, because I'll give you an idea, and your operations guy brain picks up an idea, and you already, within a millisecond, have processed through the idea, the implementation of the idea, why it won't work or why it will work, and you're already at the end, and you go, got it. And that means what I've learned is, got it. Means you've already done that exercise.
Yeah, but I've had
for yourself.
But I've had to. It's kind of like when you talk with your spouse. You have to say things. I can't shut you down. If I shut you down, it changes the whole mood. Our relationship changes for at least a moment in time. If you have an idea that I think is not going to work, right? Because I've already gone through it's a good idea, but it's not going to work because of these reasons. And in my head, you're right. I've already kind of talked through and thought through the whole process. Yeah, but how is it? You had one the other day. It was like, about another company we were looking with that you were thinking about. Like, and in my brain, I kind of went to, nope. And it was, and I could have said no.
And I'm still chewing on it.
Sure. And I might be wrong.
No, I think you're right, but I'm still chewing on it.
But
I think you're absolutely right.
So I've had to learn to not like just slam the door, because that's not beneficial to anybody either.
Well,
right?
early in my entrepreneurial career, two questions I discovered about myself, but I also think they're really important to how a person should operate if you're looking for good ideas. I mean, I laugh a lot around here, and I always tease that my job now is to come up with 2 really good ideas every month.
Right.
And that's only partially not true. But I mean, if you can come up with a really good idea once a month, that you've earned your keep. But my 2 favorite questions always have been, what happens when, and what do you suppose it looks like if?
Right.
And those, if you just leave those kind of open, they just, it's like you're released from the barn out into this grand pasture, and anything can happen.
No, it's good. One of in my observations with you guys over the years, James is such the ops guy, and I'm a little jealous because I could use that in my business, because
it is impressive, isn't it?
It is impressive. And like, I can do it, but it's certainly not my favorite thing to do. Right. So, but then, Bill's the thinker. Right. And we tend to, especially those of us who just want to get shit done, we'll have to bleep that out later. We undervalue the power behind just thinking deeply about our business and having the freedom of creativity to think about your business and ask those questions. If you're under the gun all the time, or, trying to get the task list done and make things happen, you don't have that freedom, the mental freedom to sit and think through things and be creative and think deeply and ask the questions. What if? Right?
Yeah. What do you suppose it looks like?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, which if you're out there grinding away, you're working all day, whether you're mowing a lawn or you're putting on wraps on vehicles or whatever the job is. And then your downtime is, let me now open up QuickBooks and make sure my billing's done. And then and then maybe you got a family, so you want to take time to talk to your wife and kids, and you've got involvements at church or whatever you're doing. But have you been able to take time to think about your business? And we actually had Sanjay on a few months ago, and we're actually meeting with him just to go hang out and just talk about business. Not that he needs our help, not that we need his help, but there's going to be a benefit.
There's a common language there.
Right. Just we're going to talk about business, and there's going to be an idea. There's going to be a solution that we didn't know we needed that's going to pop up in this meeting. And being able to hang around smart people, luckily we have Trish here in our orbit all the time. And so we're able to kind of bounce ideas off of her. And frankly, the meeting you guys had without me was great, because I was able to then observe and not be in the middle of the meeting. Yeah. And I could see the fruit of the meeting. I think that's almost more beneficial than me being in the conversation you guys had in the first place. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a structured meeting. It was just hey, let's go hang out.
Yeah, it was kind of off the cuff.
Yeah, kind of off the cuff, because let's hang out for a second. And so that's kind of what today I want to talk about is listener, if you're out there and you're doing a business and you don't have an avenue to just talk with someone who's like-minded, someone who may be smarter than you, somebody who can give you a thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe just some encouragement, I think it's important that you go find that place, whether it's in a chamber of commerce or in a leads group or B&I group, or find someone else who just is in business and go take them to lunch once a month. I think you meet with a few people monthly where you have a breakfast or whatever. And Trish, you just meet with them occasionally just to talk about life and your business, right?
We do. And we realize that it's lonely at the top. And when you're in a small business, you probably think you're not at the top. So I'll rephrase that as it's lonely in the middle. Like when you're in the middle of all the muck, making it happen, it's really lonely there, because even, you have to be careful about who you bounce your ideas off of. If you have employees, you certainly don't want to be talking to them about it. It's not appropriate, right? You could scare them off. If if you're having some financial struggles or challenges, you're going to scare them because they're in it for their paycheck, not only, but that's,
Sure.
they have to look out for their family, and that's important for them. So the value of having people in your circle to help you think is, and yeah, I meet with folks once a week. I don't have the benefit of a partner in that same respect, but that doesn't mean I can't have, the same opportunity to bounce off ideas of other folks. The benefit of our relationship is I think deeply about everybody else's business more than I think about my own business. So I'm working on that. Side note. But secondly is, my great ideas, I can bounce off you guys about your own business. So it's fantastic. You guys have the benefit of that additional help. At the same time, you have a built-in advisor for marketing, and that's just the nature of our services and our relationship and how that works. So if you have people in your circle who would do that for you, that's fantastic. If you're hiring someone to do marketing for you, pick their brain, make sure that that's part of the package, or, of course you want to pay for that as well, but it's not a bad idea to utilize the people, your vendor list as well, right?
Yeah, and that's a good idea, because even if you have to just pay for it, like we pay Ali to be our CPA, and so we meet at least once a quarter and go have breakfast and we talk through things. I'm paying him to do that, but it's a casual conversation where we're able to talk candidly to each other about our business, and just kind of planning for the future.
Trish has one other, I call it the mechanic's advantage. If I have a car and I drive it, I know lots of things about my car. When I go talk to my mechanic, he saw 100 cars this week, and he got, even though he didn't touch it, one of his buddies in the shop had a problem with this other kind of car. And so now he's learned the solution to that without ever having touched it. So you are doing your business with lots of other businesses. So you're observing what lots of different cars are doing. And then we get a benefit from that. That's something, if I'm trying to do that job myself, I don't get that because I only know my car.
Right. You have the benefit of an industry expert, right? And, I like to say in marketing, it's a lot like being a doctor. You're just practicing because things change all the time. There's some very fundamental, elements that never change, but for the most part, the tactics are changing, right? But so you're looking at these trends and things like that to determine what needs to be tweaked. But you guys have that benefit that I bring to the table of an industry.
It's invaluable.
Yeah. So I see what's happening. You don't want to take the time to be, marketing experts and you don't have that time. You can't.
Yeah, don't.
So we bring that to the table.
Yeah. But I don't know if you knew this or not, Trish, but when I first started out, for the first year and a half, I used to have breakfast with a local CPA, a good friend of ours, Dan Myers. And I'd buy him breakfast on Friday morning, and he'd give me the benefit of the advice how to do things, how he's like, so what's going on over there? I go, I got this one guy. He's like, whatever. Or, wow, I tried this advertising thing that really worked well for us. And he was invaluable to kind of helping in the really early stages of Hole in the Wall to kind of form things up and solidify things, to the point where a year and a half into that process, he says to me one day, I've got this guy I want you to meet. And he introduced me to James the following week. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know James. We grew up. I mean, we didn't grow up. I mean, we've been living in the same community in Conway and Belle Isle forever. Yeah. But you just don't meet everyone.
It's funny you bring that up because, my assistant, Dalmaris, has been just, a rock star, and we'll have to have her on one time. Maybe we'll do an off the wall and she can join us. She's a hoot, but she has literally changed my business. She's does a lot of the same things I'm capable of doing. I 100% trust her. I can trust her with my clients. Like, that's invaluable. And that just came, admittedly, from a few girls sitting around the table drinking some, mimosas during the work day. But it was planned. It was holidays. It was fine. Like, it was okay. We could do that. And I was expressing, one of my needs. I'm like, I need somebody just for a few hours a week to help offload some of this stuff. And my friend was like, hey, I got somebody. Made the introduction. Dalmera started a few hours a week, and it's been a couple years, and she's almost full-time now, and she's just been rock solid the whole time. And it's been, that was also I learned, hey, talk to other business owners about what your challenges are.
Yeah.
Business owners that you trust, go ahead and tell them what your challenges are, right? The vast majority of them have your best interest at heart, right? And then secondly, man, hire in the right person. And it's not just their skill set, it's their personality. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know the personality that I needed till I hired her. And then I was like, okay, that's it. Yeah. Sadly, I didn't understand really the personality that I needed. At this point, I don't even know the exercise I could go through to find that. I'm sure a business strategist or consultant would be able to help me through that process, but I certainly didn't know at the time. So
you know what? Sometimes happy accidents are the best way.
Yeah.
Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're hole-in-the-wall drywall repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today. We do it naturally. I think, Bill, you've always done it naturally. You don't like to do things solo anyways. Like, heck, we don't even like to go to lunch alone, right? And you don't do real estate solo. Nope. You as a partner. You in business, we have each other. And even in the creation of Hole in the Wall, you would have breakfast meetings with other people. Even the name Hole in the Wall came from a conversation you had with somebody over just a casual conversation over breakfast. Mm-hmm. And being able to kind of have that, and if you don't do it now, it's not too late to start. To start with just talking with somebody, whether it's over a cocktail or over breakfast or lunch, and just start brainstorming with somebody who's got your best interest in mind. You said something earlier that made me think is also be cautious of who you're talking to because they may not have your best interest, right? Or perhaps it's somebody who just doesn't know your business or the shoes that you're walking in well enough to give you that advice, right?
Yeah. So one thing I do for myself is I stop and I ask myself, what is the other person's motivators, right? Most of those motivators are very good. They just want to help, right? So that's a good thing, right? Ask yourself, what could that person's motivators be, right? And be open to the possibility that you're incorrect. But then weigh the advice, right? So I'm a little bit of a jerk, but I listen to if somebody says you should do this in your business, right? I'm like, should I? Mm-hmm. Right? I take that thing that they say and I capture that and I evaluate it, right?
Yeah, but that's important.
There has been almost zero of those suggestions, you should do this, that were actually the right advice. So but as a key word for me, a really good coach, taught me that. And I was like, you know what? They're right. And it applied more to just my business, right? In life, in challenges, people are like, you should do this. No, actually, I shouldn't do that. And anytime I did take that advice, guess what? It was terrible advice, right?
Yeah. Reminds me of what the ballad of Ricky Bobby. What was it his dad told him? Like,
if you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't first, you're last. And he finally, at the end, he's an adult now, and he's like, no, I was just drunk. That was a bunch of stuff. I just shooting off my mouth. He goes, Dad, I built my whole life around that.
But the phrase is, with all due respect.
Yeah, exactly. So, I not all advice is good advice, right? Pay attention to their motivators. What's their skill set? And often I've had people give me advice, and I realized they don't know my business well enough to give me any advice whatsoever, right? So that's where the value of, coming to you. And I have other clients I go to when I'm like, hey, can I pick your brain about my business? Because they have the benefit of a client's perspective. They've had the benefit of our services. what is it about us that you like? What is it that we really do for you, right? A lot of the times I hear, I trust you with my brand. You make us look good. You nailed my voice. You understand our brand, right? So that helps me understand what is it that we really do. Because services wise, we do a lot, but I can't, that doesn't all fit in a one-liner, right? I have to really put it into sharpen my message, right? So I'm always working on that, just like I'm working on that for other clients. But it's okay to go and talk to people that, they've proven themselves to be trustworthy, right? So it's been invaluable to have thinkers in your circle, right? So,
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can be our clients. I mean, we work for some really smart people, right? And so for you, obviously we're one of your clients, but you have other smart people in your orbit that can help you and analyze things. I just want to caution people not to try and just Geronimo this thing by themselves.
Yeah.
Business is hard, and you have to find avenues. If anything, you just gave yourself a break from the drudgery of what your job may be, what your business may be. And then on the flip side, you may get that one idea that helps turn things around. For you, Dan brought you Gigi. When you had
although I didn't even mention that, but that's true. He brought Gigi into my orbit too.
So your conversation, even before I came in, the conversation, he brought you. It ended up being. She's now our bookkeeper. She's been here for almost
like 12.
years. Yeah, 12 years.
It's like 12, 14 years now.
So
and was so needed because the business was moving at such a pace. Then my paperwork would stack to 8, 10, 12 inches tall, and I just leave it because I wanted to go make revenue today.
Right.
And then. Just Gigi came in and cleared all that. But within 6 months now, here was James because we were just at that level. And there was this kind of a moment because he didn't necessarily come cheap.
Yeah.
So there was this step of faith and it's required.
Right.
And if you look at our employees, a lot of the employees that helped, especially in the beginning, who helped kind of launch our company, they're all friends of people. Scott Plemons is in this company now to this day. And he was a referral from somebody that you knew at church, right?
It's true.
And so being able to kind of talk through these things, like we've got employees now, I think of Jaden and I think of Jameer. Well, that they were a complete referral from Darnika, who was in our BNI,
right?
know? And so just throwing the red flag up there. Hey, listen, I'm looking for some quality people. She said, "Hey, I got a kid who's about to jump out in the workforce. Do you have room for him?" And I was like, "Well, give him a shot." And here's 3 years later. And the guys,
no. The classic thing was you hired him, and he says, "Well, can I wait 2 weeks because I gotta go graduate?"
And I started in 2 weeks because I graduated high school.
But you know what? I haven't thought about that. But he was so anxious to get into the workforce, he wasn't waiting until the summer passed. Right. He graduated, summer passed. Now he starts looking for a job before he graduated.
Wow.
That should have told us something.
Yeah.
Well, we saw it.
And it goes back to know who you need in your business, right? And I don't mean just skill set, and you guys know this, you've experienced it over and over again. So,
well, and if any of our listeners who are personal friends of ours, you need a sounding board to kind of throw things off of. I know Bill and I are always here to just.
We like doing this stuff.
I like coffee. I like lunches and breakfasts. So feel free to invite us to a breakfast or lunch. If there's time, you have my ear. I would absolutely love to help you. And frankly, people who come on the show, that's why I like having our podcast, because then we have the opportunity to meet people like, Justin Spears, who just came on his podcast shop today. And the people who are on as guests, they actually learn something from us too, right? So being able to kind of symbiotically work in that synergistic type environment is key. So
well, the danger of keeping your own counsel, staying in your own thoughts, is your thinking becomes circular, because a person's thinking patterns, you just walk a circle and eventually you just walk a hole in the ground in the shape of a circle. So it is so important to get input from other people. If for another reason, then they say, "Hey, you're just walking a hole in your circle there. You need to. Can I give you a fresh thought?"
Yeah. And frankly, it needs to be more than one person. If you have the ability to have multiple conversations, you should.
Yeah. Because the bottom line is, running a business is a skill, right? And all of, well, at least in this room, and many of the folks out there started a business because they were good at a trade or a skill, right? I was good at marketing. You saw a market. You're a tradesman, right? You started as a painter, and you saw this hole in the market. Hole in the wall was the hole in the market. See what I did there? And so that's a skill, and it takes time to build that skill. And it's actually based on conversations, right? And you can't go to class. I would argue you can't really go to class to learn all this, right? Not that those MBAs aren't some very important foundational elements, but as far as putting it into practice, it is OJT all the way.
Yeah. Well, and frankly, people who start small businesses, they don't have Bill's got a business degree, but my experience is that's not the case most of the time. I like to say, like, sometimes a good mechanic does not make a good, business owner, right? So if you are good at a trade or you are good at a skill set and you want to be your own boss, you obviously can't do it solo. You obviously need to have the benefit of somebody else or other people who can help you in that orbit. So I would encourage you to find places to go, whether it's a chamber of commerce, where you're meeting up with people, or whether it's with even someone who's a little bit closer, and possibly, like, my father was a business owner. So if I have a business advice, I could actually ask my father when I was young, hey, what do I do in this situation? He would have answers for me. But find people you can talk to, you can trust, that have your best interest in mind,
Right.
I know that when Trish gives us some comments, some advice, it's out of a place of wanting to benefit us, not hurt us.
Yeah. Well, and one other important piece of advice is just keep chopping wood. Just stay at it. I'm thinking specifically about the messaging for your company. It's easy to say, I can write a book and or a paragraph about my company, but can I whittle that down to just a few words? My daughter, Lauren, who just graduated with a degree in marketing, she says, relentless reductionism leads to focus. Because you're just constantly chopping off the little bits you don't need. It's almost like sharpening a pencil where it comes down to a very fine point. And the point of that pencil, the very end of it, is the business end of that pencil. Nothing gets translated to a page unless it comes through the point of that pencil. And if you don't have a good point, you don't get a good translation onto the page. Relentless reductionism.
I like that. It's like when I watch a lot of Food Network, if you could tell, and the words, the comments I always hear from the judges on these panels, like, you needed to edit this dish. You have too many things in it. You need to edit this dish.
I've never heard that concept. I like that.
I like, and so being able to edit it, being able to kind of like come to the fine point. Like, even our slogans have been difficult for us. Just like, let's fix the hole in the wall without putting a hole in your wallet, right?
Yeah.
Great slogan. Way too long.
Never have figured out how to reduce it, have we?
No.
So we never used it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's there. It's around. You'll see it if you look at some marketing, but it's not the same. So it wasn't until Trish was in our office, a couple years ago, and you're like, love your walls again. Wait,
what'd she just do there?
Right.
She brought her pencil sharpener, and all of a sudden now we got a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hardest thing to do in business in marketing is, and it's an art, right? The art of simplicity, right? Clear, simple, creative messaging.
Yeah, cutting out the fluff.
Yeah, and it's tough. It is definitely tough.
But when it's well done, it's so poignant.
Yeah.
I've seen in any number of national ads where they get right to the point. And you go, oh my gosh, that's so good.
And we'll simple back. Let's use that as an example to circle back to the power of thinking, right? If we quantified the hours of thought that have gone into that.
Hey, I'm due some overtime.
Right? Hundreds of hours have gone into thinking through the simplicity of that message. And it took years. I mean, I know I've thought about it, and I know you guys have spent years thinking about it. That's the value of thinking deeply and consistently about your brand. Yeah.
Well, I think that this exercise is good. I'm glad we didn't have a poignant guest. We have a special guest.
Special.
She is special.
She's special. Yeah. A contributor. And just to reiterate one more time, if you're out there trying to think about your business or starting a business, I mean, even launching a business needs to come with great conversation and talk to smart people, talk to people that can help you grow. When we launched a restoration company, we did it with advice from other people. But it wasn't until I actually got in the business that I realized I didn't want to be in that business.
Yeah. And I'll say this, everybody has a friend who's in business, right? So if you're not in business and you're thinking about it, everybody has a friend they know that owns a business. Take them out to lunch, buy them a drink, cup of coffee, whatever, and just do your homework. Before you pull the trigger, do your homework on it. I mean, I think entrepreneurship and owning a business is one of the best opportunities available in America. Anybody can start a business. I think that's it's an amazing opportunity. It's also, can be a downfall because it is so easy. So spend the time and do a lot of conversations and ask a bunch of questions, take your friends out to lunch. I'm available, friends out there. So yeah, do your homework.
Yeah. And frankly, this is the benefit of buying a franchise. Our franchisees have the benefit of the three of us in this room if they need to talk. I mean, I had to text one of our guys, our franchisees, just yesterday, just kind of, he was excited, that he had for the second week in a row, Monday came and he had an entire week's worth of work already.
I love hearing that.
For 2 weeks in a row.
Wow,
and he just needed a place to
express it.
Yeah.
To share it. He was excited about it. And so he could talk to his wife, I'm sure he's got some friends to talk to, but being able to share that with me and then I could rejoice with him was beneficial.
Yeah.
So,
love it.
Yeah. That.
Wow. That's fast. He hasn't been at this very long at all. Holy cow.
Yeah, I know.
That's fantastic.
I love it. Actually, I was talking to Nick about this as well yesterday. And he was like, he's already got 2 weeks in a row where he's had full weeks of work. So
wow,
it works. Buy whole new franchise, people. We can.
Well, and how gratifying that we thought through it all, experienced it a little differently because we were growing the business, but we saw the demand, and then we hypothesized that we should be able to train somebody to do this really good because of the volume of demand. And we always say, just hang out your shingle. And everybody's like, how do you get the phone ring? Don't worry about that. The phone will ring.
Yeah.
Make sure you're set to meet the demand, but very gratifying.
Yeah. And I will say, not every industry is like that. So you're unique in that. So,
well, maybe that's one of our secret powers,
Yeah.
that we just are in an industry with a lot of demand.
We've just let the cat out of the bag. Oh, well.
Shh.
Good show. Thanks, Trish, for hanging out with us today. Bill, thanks for letting me have some freedom with this show to kind of
enjoyed it.
Kind of think out loud. And listen, you're not in a vacuum, folks. Don't do this in a vacuum. Business is a team sport, whether you hire somebody or you just have some good pals to hang around with.
Absolutely.
So don't do it alone.
Yeah, it's critical.
Very good. All right. Well, good show, everybody. And thanks for listening.
We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.